Hi, I'm Marlo Garnsworthy. Thank you for coming to my talk. This is about my 30th take trying to get this done. You can see maybe the mess in my studio. I'm on a book deadline. I'm going to see in a few weeks' time unexpectedly, and so it's a little chaotic. But thanks for coming. So I'm going to speak about creative science communication, and I'm going to show you some of our work. By our, I mean my collaborator Kevin Pluck and I. And some of this is to do with ocean drilling, and some is for our other polar and climate change communication work. Regardless, I hope that this presentation is going to inspire you to think about creativity and how it can be used in science communication in general. So let's talk about why we're here. I think we can all agree that we have a duty to share our science, right? Otherwise you wouldn't be here. But we're competing with the loudest voices in the room. I know some people would argue that our primary efforts should be towards policymakers and stakeholders, and they certainly should be. That's very important. But the public is affected by our natural world, and they're also taxpayers and they're voters. And the next generation is our future. So we owe it to them all to inform them, to move them, and to inspire them into further discovery and action. But there's often a yawning chasm between the science and a diverse audience, and we're competing with a range of ever-evolving media. So capturing a broad audience and keeping them engaged is extremely challenging. Successful anti-science campaigns make it clear that targeted, coordinated, and innovative science outreaches should be one of our top goals, really. And of course, policymakers and stakeholders, they're just people too, and all people can be moved by art in its various forms. So here's our goal tonight, to get you thinking about creative science communication and to inspire you with creative communication in general. Obviously I haven't got my glasses on, so if I misread something, it is as it is. So the questions that are always on our mind when we make anything are, how can we inform people about ocean drilling or the science we're working on, and how can we best convey the science? So we believe that one of our most powerful tools is visual storytelling. So we always ask first, who is our audience? What do we want them to know? What do they already know? And what do they really care about? That's really important to tap into what people care about. And why should our science matter to them specifically? And of course then, how can we use our unique creative skills to reach them? So I'm going to let you in on something a little embarrassing. I've been science curious all my life, but there was a time not that long ago that I hadn't really heard of scientific ocean drilling. Fast forward a couple of years and I'm on a mission to make sure everyone has heard of it. So how did I get here? Well, I spent my entire career in publishing, both in fiction and non-fiction. I'm an editor, author, illustrator, art director. I work pretty much across most of publishing. I'm used to conveying ideas with clarity and simplicity and to various audiences, especially young audiences. And so science outreach was really a very natural fit for me. And it's something that I've very quickly become extremely passionate about. So enter IUDP and the famous science drilling ship, the JOIDES Resolution. I absolutely love that IUDP braces the role that creatives and educators play in science communication and has us on board to do this incredible work. I was thrilled to sail on Expedition 382 to Iceberg Alley, Antarctica a couple of years ago. I can't wait to sail again shortly on Expedition 390, and I hope you'll follow our journey. I don't have a degree in science communication. I just had a really amazing opportunity to go on NBP 1702 in 2017. Thank you, Becky Robinson. And I've traveled a really steep learning curve since I first went to sea. Then I teamed up with Kevin, and it's just gone on from there, from strength to strength. So I've learned a lot. I'm going to share our convictions. So as creatives, we can convey science concepts through the arts, animation, and so much more. We can distill the takeaways in very simple terms. We're not scientists, so we really have an advantage here. We can capture what will appeal to an audience, and I like to think of it as conveying the beauty, emotion, and the soul within the subject, the science, the data. So I always think of my goal as being to show the science, and most importantly, why it matters. Can always also think of that as turning facts or data into truth or emotion. And visual storytelling is a really powerful way to do that. So now I'm going to let you see some of our work, my work, Kevin's work alone, our work together as pixel movers and makers, and you can see just some of the ways that we combine science and art to engage the public. Most of my work is related to Antarctica, and so I often start by making polar art. Kev and I both like to combine art or images and words into simple and clear infographics for use on social media. These are some of the ones we've created that have been quite popular. Now on IODP Expedition 382, I quickly had a realization. I got this question multiple times and many times since, and I realized that many people just don't realize that sea ice and icebergs are very different and why they're different. So there was no way I could explain our science, which involved material dropped by icebergs, without showing how an iceberg forms. And so I wrote an illustrated iceberg of Antarctica, which I'm going to share with you now. So yes, this is in the format of a children's book, but it's accessible for all ages, and I've used it successfully in presentations to adults many times. So here we are, Iceberg of Antarctica. Where do icebergs come from, and what can we learn from them? It starts with snow. And snow and snow and snow. Snow compacts and crystals grow, becoming sugary granular ice, then hard crunchy fern, then dense clear glacial ice over thousands of years, covering Antarctica in a great icy sheet. Such thick ice is heavy, so it flows downwards and outwards in glaciers and ice streams. It picks up rocks and mud, pebbles and stones, and still the ice flows, until some ice reaches the sea. Warmer water melts ice shelves from below. Cracks expand and the ice shelf grows thinner and weaker until, crack, splash, an iceberg is born. It carries debris, its rocks and mud, pebbles and stones. Floating and drifting, wandering and melting, carved by wind and waves, carving smaller icebergs dwindling, until it is gone, leaving only rocks and mud, pebbles and stones, sinking to the deep sea floor, for the Joides resolution to core. These last couple of pages simply flesh out the science a little bit more and give a bit more background about the cruise and our purpose. So now let's talk about data visualization, which is Kevin's expertise. I was very glad to meet him on Twitter and team up and become very good friends. Here's some of the things that Kev's made that are just really quite beautiful data visualizations. So for Iceberg Alley, Kev and I were very interested in making something that showed how icebergs travel around Antarctica. So this is Antarctic iceberg flux data. And we'd seen this visualization of what that data actually looks like, the tracks that icebergs take around Antarctica. But we wanted to see how it looked in motion and showing the provenance of the icebergs. So this not only was used by scientists on our team, but by many other scientists, and it was also captured worldwide media attention and was featured on the Weather Channel. Here's another that gained a lot of interest on social media. Last year we were asked to create animations for The Lake at the Bottom of the World, a documentary about the Salsa Antarctica project, which we were very excited to work on. So I'm going to show you how data, image, word, music can all work together.
I've called it the world's largest wetland. It's got, I'm proposing this, it's got life. It's just under a mile of ice.
We're going to be going out to a lake called Subglacial Lake Mercer. A lot of subglacial lakes fill and drain, and they drain to the ocean. So what's happening under Antarctic ice really affects the rest of the planet as well.
In this one, I've taken animated maps that we made for the movie and combined them with our own art and words. So thanks for listening. I hope that you're going to be coming away from this talk feeling inspired by how art and science can be combined, and what you could do yourself. There's all sorts of different kinds of art in the world, and you're really only limited by your imagination. So imagine. But in the meantime, remember that creatives are ready and waiting to work for you. I hope you're going to follow me on Geordie's Resolution Expedition 390 starting in April, and my work on the Suez to Sea Antarctic Warming Project. Thank you for coming. Bye-bye.